Hey guys, Brian here, and I want to talk to you today about something that is more important than it's ever been in SEO, and that is user intent. Obviously, as a search engine, Google wants to answer the questions or the expectations the searcher has, and it's gotten very good over the last couple of years of identifying the wording a person uses when they enter a search query and what it is specifically they're looking for. Good example of kind of the evolution of that. In the past, if you did a search for, say, used cars, a page that was really well optimized for the search term used cars but didn't actually list any cars for sale, maybe it just went over the history of various types of cars that in the past have sold really well used, or cars that retain their value, and maybe in the past that page would have ranked well because it did a good job optimizing for used cars. However, Google now understands, contextually, when a person searches for used cars, dollars to donuts, what they're really looking for is, I want to buy used cars, I want to know who around me sells them, and I want to look at pricing and options. And so Google has gotten a lot better at looking at the website and saying, are you actually answering that user query or not, outside of the normal things it would have looked at to determine if that page was a good choice optimization-wise. That's become really important as we craft content for our websites, because now the old techniques of just on-page optimization, while still valid, there's more to it than that, because now you have to make sure that given the wording that a searcher is looking for related to whatever you're making that page about, that it's clear to Google and to the searcher that the content you're creating actually answers that search query. Brian Dean of Backlinko wrote an excellent article that, among other things, talked about this, link in the description. And one of the great examples that he used for himself, a content guide that he had created that actually at first the rankings dropped off pretty significantly, and then he figured out what was going on and was able to bring it back up. He wanted to rank for the search term SEO tools, and obviously was creating an article that was going over all of those. Same kind of idea with the used cars. It's easy to create a page that maybe is about what are SEO tools? Why do you need SEO tools? Why is it important as an SEO professional that you have this collection of tools? And maybe in the past, a lot of those types of sites could rank for that term. But again, Google has gotten really good now at recognizing when people are searching for SEO tools, what they obviously want is, I already know that I need tools, I already know why tools are good, I want to know what the tools are that people recommend. And so what I'm really looking for is, I want guides, I want recommendations, I want reviews, I want things like that. And so now Google knows we're going after those types of articles first. But the problem that Brian Dean had run into is he had actually created that kind of article that actually did have a list of all of the different ones that he recommended, but it wasn't clear enough in the titles he was using and the way he structured his content that that was actually the kind of post that it was. And so he did a great job optimizing for it, and he showed in his analytics that when he first published it, it ranked really well, and then over the following couple of months, it dropped off significantly. Something that I've seen as well in content I've created. Sometimes you notice it ranks really well and then it starts falling off and it's not clear why. User intent is now one of the big reasons that that can happen. At first, Google just looks at the raw optimization and you did a good job, and so your piece ranks. But then over time, as it looks at it again and ponders it, it doesn't fit the criteria that it's looking for user intent, and so the rankings fall. Brian Dean showed in that article that I referenced that when he made certain adjustments to it based on, it can be as simple as, well, do searches yourself for the search term that you're trying to rank for, and just have a careful look at what things are even coming up, because that can give you some real insight into how Google looks at it. When Google thinks about this search term, look at the things on page 1 that it's showing. That tells you more than just who are the big players in this and what sites have authority. But if you pay attention to the titles and what specific content those 10 results came up with, you can get real insight into, when you search for this word, what does Google consider to be the 10 best choices that fulfill user intent, and can you structure your content to be more in line with that. When he did that, he noticed that that article came back up into the 3rd spot of the first page for that search term. That's gotten a lot more sophisticated than it was in years past. Part of the reason that question-based titles like "How do I fix my radiator" were so big is because in the early days of trying to understand user intent, posting a question, well, the user might be searching that exact question online, and so obviously if you have a title that's similar to that question, you stand a much better chance of ranking for it. But now Google's gotten so sophisticated that, as we've been talking about, it can tell user intent just based on its metrics of when people search for these types of things, what are the results that they tend to click on most, and how long do they stay on those sites, and how often do those types of content get shared. Things that are obviously not what the searcher was after are things that get filtered out of the results over time. So it's much more important than it ever used to be to make sure that you're fulfilling this for the user and you're being careful about how you structure your titles and how you present the actual content so that it's clear to Google that you understand what the searcher is looking for this piece and that your page is a good resource to answer that question. It discourages old SEO tactics that, quite frankly, it's probably time that they go. Like, well, I have to make sure my article is over 800 words here because I think longer content ranks better, and so I have to give a history of SEO tools in the beginning so that by the time I actually get to the point, my article is 1,500 words long. Ditch the junk. Just answer the question. Length is less important if you're answering the question. If we learned anything from recent metrics like this, we can see that that's happening. Hope that was helpful for you guys. Thanks for watching. And if this helped you, or you know of somebody else that this could help, that's creating content, please share this video, hit the like button, and otherwise I will see you next time.